You're listening to the Griffin Grossmont College Radio, El Cajon, California.
It's big, it's beautiful, and you're gonna love it.
Welcome to Breakfast of Imbeciles, the thinking man's analysis of giant hamster balls, lunch lady larceny, ham, and all the other hard-hitting stories cable news doesn't want you to hear.
No, it's not.
It's different. It's unusual.
Nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, Breakfast of Imbeciles.
That's right. Good morning, everybody. I am DJ Lunchbox here on Breakfast of Imbeciles every Tuesday and Thursday from 9 to 10 a.m. here on Griffin Radio. Looks like I'm here by myself in the theater this morning, in the studio this morning, so it will be a little fun solo show. But don't forget, you can check us out on our Facebook page at Griffin Radio 119. Our Instagram account is Griffin Radio SD, so feel free to check us out and drop us a couple of notes on there if you want. And, of course, you can always hear us on the TuneIn app for your Android and iPhone under the channel Griffin Radio. You can also, if you're in the mood, listen to us on the Grossmont website at grossmont.edu/GriffinRadio. And, just to pile on all that, you can also hit me up at my own personal email address, lunchboxthedj@gmail.com, just to say hi, drop a note, and let me... see, this is why you should always turn off your phone before you're coming on the show. Feel free to shoot me an email, drop me some comments, questions, concerns, inquire after my mental health, because Lord knows I probably need it. The views, comments, and opinions expressed on this show are those of the individuals and not necessarily shared by Griffin Radio, the Media Communications Department, Grossmont College, or the Grossmont Cuyamaca Community College District. This podcast is copywritten by Griffin Radio and Grossmont College 2018. Thank you very much. So, welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a enjoyable holiday with your families. I know we had a pretty busy household in our place, and there we go. We had a pretty busy place. My man and I have been hosting his family and, to a lesser degree, my family for the last 5 years or so. And let me just tell you, when you do something hard the first time, everything else after that is surprisingly simple. Our first Thanksgiving we'd ever hosted, cooking the birds, doing all that good stuff, we had a total, including of ourselves, 18 people. We had to make room for 18 people in the house. Oh, my Lord. Hi, LaTanya.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm doing super fantastic, terrific, great all day.
Well, we'll get you on a mic here, and you can tell us all about it.
Okay, cool.
Because I'm sipping water, and I was just about to launch into my fascinating Thanksgiving story.
Oh, what happened?
Oh, no, it was nothing like that, thank God. Everything was pretty drama-free. Good morning, Threadz. How you doing?
I'm doing good,
Nice to see you.
It's nice to see you as well, likewise.
Do you need some more volume in your headphones? Are you okay there?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks.
So, I was just saying, so my man and I have been hosting Thanksgiving for like 5 years in a row now.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be at his parents' place, and then I think we did it once at his grandparents' place when his grandfather was still around. And his parents live out in Hamul, so they're out in the middle of nowhere, and it's just difficult to get the family up there.
Right.
So we live near SDSU, so we're kind of central to where everybody is. So anyway, we've become the de facto host, and frankly, I'm going to say it, we crush it every year. So the first Thanksgiving we had that we did at our place about 5 years ago, including us, it was a total of 18 people. We had a lot of people show up.
Okay.
So we decided we're going to do 2 turkeys, and we went crazy, and we decided to brine them.
Okay.
And I don't know if you were aware of brining, how brining turkeys work.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty simple. For those of you who don't know what brining a turkey is, you basically just take your turkey the night before, and you immerse it into a bucket of salted, seasoned, flavored ice water, and you just leave it overnight. And then you're supposed to get up sometime in the middle of the night and turn the bird and make sure it's resting comfortably. So we did that. Came out beautifully. 2 years ago, we did our usual brining thing.
Okay.
And sometime during the night, the birds got over 40 degrees temperature. The ice melted and they got warm. And we can't cook these. We don't know how long they've been sitting there. I mean, it's salt water, the salt is probably going to kill anything in there because it's a lot of salt. Mm-hmm. But we weren't going to take the risk because there's some elderly members of his family. We're just like, no salmonella. We're fine. So we did things anyway. So that was kind of the long preamble to this Thanksgiving. We did everything came out beautifully. The food was good. Everybody reduced a little bit of the amount they brought because we always have so much leftovers.
Right.
And
you still have leftovers?
Yes, we still do.
Wow.
Yeah. We actually made a really awesome turkey salad the other day, and it was tasty. So anyway,
That's the beauty of like leftovers, though. Like you can make other stuff.
Yes.
Like out of it. Like, okay, I did a ham, and the next morning, eggs and ham.
Oh, there you go.
Then Saturday morning, just ham cooked. Let's get out there and survive Black Friday. And
I've been waiting to bust that out for weeks.
you're too much.
I haven't had a reason. I'm going to ask you how yours was here in a minute, but I wanted to get this off my chest before I forget about it because it made me laugh so hard. So,
Okay.
So my man's grandmother comes with us for Thanksgiving, and she's 91, I want to say.
Oh,
so
wow.
she's up there.
Bless.
Very sweet lady. And I say this with all Christian love. A cog or two slipping here and there.
Okay.
So, there's a little bit that going on, but everybody's just kind of works around it and everybody's happy. And so she comes over and she has a great time.
Mm-hmm.
So she's sitting across from me on the table, and I'm near the end. And to my side is my man's father, and the grandmother's son. So he's very solicitous. Mom, do you want any more turkey or do you want more of this? So he loaded up her plate, and I'm not paying any attention. And then all of a sudden, I look down, and she's just kind of sopping up the rest of her ham with a biscuit, just kind of popping in her mouth. And her son is like, "Are you okay?"
Uh-huh.
And she's like, "Yes, I'm fine. Why?" "Well, because when we got here, you said you weren't hungry." And he loaded her up this plate, and she's kind of licking the plate now, trying to get all the gravy off. And so she was like, "Oh, just a nibble. I'm fine." So she, very ladylike, cleaned her plate. And my favorite part was I always forget that she is a fiend. And I use that term very, very carefully. A fiend when it comes to chocolate.
Oh.
Now, my man's mother will go every year. She goes down to C's, and they have these little foil-wrapped chocolate leaves.
Oh, C's candy.
Oh.
Oh, you just... Goodness, yes.
So they're these little packages, and they have like red, green, gold, and orange colored leaves. So she'll put them on tables, little decorations, kind of with all the centerpieces and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just kind of talking. We're looking around. We're drinking wine. We're just chit-chatting. And then we look down, and there's this small pile of unwrapped foil on her plate.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're like, "How's it going over there?" And she's like, "I'm fine." And she is lightning fast with these things. I turned my head for 1 minute. I'm talking to somebody off to my side, and I turned back, and there's 2 more empties on her plate. And so she's now cleaned all the chocolate off of our end of the table.
Uh-huh.
And she's just got this little smile on her face. "Oh, I'm fine. I'm going.
Oh.
Happy Thanksgiving." But then, she wasn't very hungry. She was only wanting to snack, so she only had a piece of pecan pie after that as well with whipped cream. So, but they...
Can't we just have Thanksgiving all over again? Because these foods that you're mentioning are making me so hungry.
We could do that, but I'm not.
You're not doing
I'm not
that.
washing the dishes again because that broke my back. So yeah, her family, as they got ready to take her back to the community she lives in, they were like, "Okay, we're going to take her some more chocolates. We're not really supposed to bring her more food, but we're going to do that anyway." Well, they had to stash these away so that she couldn't get to them, so that she would have something to take with her when she got home.
Right.
So, beautiful woman, hard worker all her life and everything, but the story is always told and laughed at that she got fired from working at a chocolate factory she worked in because she was eating too much.
How cute.
So,
what a great way to go. Thanks for the chocolate. Bye.
Bye. So that was, we were having a good laugh about that. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was blessed. I mean, I think this would be the first time that my husband and our anniversary landed on Thanksgiving.
Oh, how interesting.
He had 19 years, and it was, we spent, of course, I cooked, relaxed, slept, and then we bought the day in with spending Thanksgiving with some friends. And we had a game night. I don't think we got home till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, that's the way to do it. Somebody else's house.
Thank you. That's why I was like, when you said dishes, I was like, as I cooked, I cleaned. That way, when I got home, I didn't have to think about dishes because I'm kind of a neat freak when it comes to that type of stuff. But it was a blessed Thanksgiving.
That's wonderful.
And our son actually participated in games with the adults. Like,
how old is he?
he's 17.
Okay, so he's starting to hit that the far end,
Yeah.
crossing the line from adolescence to where he's finally becoming an adult and is wanting to hang out with the adults a little bit now. Okay.
And then he got all competitive and everything. So it was a very memorable weekend, Thanksgiving. It was.
Well, to your point, you mentioned kind of like talking about dishes and everything. I like cooking. I hate the cleanup. However, I felt that it's really kind of the only fair thing to do because my man and we're pretty much the youngest people there. Okay. Which isn't saying much if you catch my drift.
I do.
So the people that are his family that comes and visits us for these holidays, they've done their holidays. Okay. They've put in the decades of the cooking and the cleaning.
Yeah, you're right.
And they're guests too. And I know that some of them are more than happy to help clean up. But at the same time, it's kind of like, you know what? You've done this for long enough. Mm-hmm. You're the age you are now. It's not fair to make you stand there and help us clean after coming down and being our guest. So anyway, that's
so thoughtful of you. I think I'll be coming over to your place next year.
Well, don't do that, no. Actually, that would be fun. That would be fun to have you guys over.
If we're here, we'll be there.
Oh, that's right. I know you guys move around a bit, but yeah, the more the merrier.
You get that, right, Ray? I'm sure I get it.
You're bringing a hot dish, Ray.
Oh, yes. You are.
Let's see. So I wanted to kind of pimp out my YouTube channel since all of these shows that we do are recorded here. Mm-hmm. And I decided that I wanted to start putting them on YouTube about a month or two ago because people that might miss them or like my mom, for example, doesn't get a chance to listen live very often, but she still likes to hear the show. So I was like, okay, well, here, I'll just put them on YouTube so I don't have to email these to you and it's a pain in the butt. Mm-hmm. And it's gotten really interesting to me how a lot of my friends and current media consumers think about radio and such. Now, I've told everybody I know who will sit still long enough and has not just started saying, God, shut up! No. Everybody I know, I've told I have a radio show. Mm-hmm. And that I tell them, then I take those recordings and I upload them to YouTube and I share them so they can be shared around. And I get a lot of people who reply back with, oh, you're podcasting. And I'm like, no. And I find that so interesting because I'm like, no, I don't know if they're just not taking me literally or if radio and podcasting have become sort of synonymous.
It has. Because when I was talking about my show with my group of friends for Thanksgiving, they associated it real quickly with a podcast. And
so you got that too.
Mm-hmm,
okay.
Because they think it's like, okay, are you live? Are you on the radio like I'm driving down the car? Or if I'm listening to a recording, then all of a sudden it becomes a podcast.
Well, I just wonder if some people think that being on the radio, quote unquote, is something that's so unusual and so rare that we're kind of misdescribing what we're actually doing.
Yeah.
And I do just want to let everybody know that this is an actual radio station.
Yes.
It used to be KGFN, where we actually had broadcast. I think we were AM. Were we AM at the time? I think we were AM.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, the call letters sound like they may have been.
KGFN. We were KGFN, Griffin Radio here. I know that for a fact. And the... Watch, I'll be corrected in class later. But we actually had broadcast. We don't do the actual broadcasting anymore, but we stream over the internet, which is actually kind of more advantageous because where we had a couple of miles broadcast range, now we are global. Mm-hmm. You can listen to us anywhere. So our range has geometrically increased. Excuse me.
Oh, it's okay.
And but we are still an actual radio station. This is not technically a podcast because we obey the FCC rules. Right. So we behave as if we are a terrestrial radio broadcast station.
Right.
So we are actually, this is an actual radio station. It's the only difference is where we are heard is online now.
Right.
So we technically could sit here and curse and do all sorts of horrible things if we wanted to because we are not actually governed by the FCC. But since this is a learning environment and a class,
then we want to... How do you say act as though?
Exactly. We behave as if we do actually have FCC oversight. And, that's good. It kind of keeps us on our toes, too.
But of course.
So I just found that kind of interesting. And it's not even that it was a young person I was talking to. He was my age. He was like, oh, you're podcasting. I'm like, no, not a podcast. It's a radio show that I record, so I just found that kind of fun.
That was interesting. So we had the same conversation too with other people. So good point.
Yeah, I just found that so fascinating that the perception has shifted. I'm trying to decide. I guess we can take a little break here and just kind of reset. So we are going to take a little break here on Breakfast of Imbeciles on Griffin Radio every Tuesday and Thursday from 9 to 10 a.m. We will see you back here in just a few minutes, guys. Got your knit needles ready there?
Oh, they're cracking.
You all set?
They click and y'all can hear them.
Welcome back to Breakfast of Imbeciles, everybody. I'm DJ Lunchbox here with
DJ Threadz
on Breakfast of Imbeciles on Griffin Radio every Tuesday and Thursday from 9 to 10 a.m. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. We are gonna, I think, just jump straight into the news because honestly, there's quite a bit to cover. Got some good stories for you here. So I'm rather pleased. 2 exotic dancers were arrested after causing a fight in a bar when one of the women reportedly attacked the other's face with her stiletto shoe.
Oh, goodness.
Ebony Jordan and Bianca Strayhorn were both working as dancers in the strip bar when an argument broke out between the 2 women and 2 other employees. One of the employees claimed during the argument that Ebony attacked her face with a stiletto heel shoe, and she pulled out part of the other employee's weave.
Oh, my goodness.
Bianca was reported to have pepper sprayed the employee in the scuffle. Hey, you know what? I'm sure the gentleman in this place paid good money to see this sort of action.
Oh, my goodness.
The police were called to the scene and attempted to stop Bianca and Ebony from fleeing in a vehicle. The 2 women ignored the officers and took off, driving over a curb. They were soon both arrested and charged with felony fleeing police as well as misdemeanors for assault, disorderly conduct, and trespassing. Now, this is probably going to be a little obscure. Do you remember in the 90s, I want to say there was a cartoon, The Tick?
It's not coming to me.
Okay. There was a character in there. So it was a parody. It's a very, very popular parody series about superheroes, and they're all superheroes with really stupid powers.
Okay.
Well, one of them was like the only competent one in there. Her name was American Maid, and so she was dressed as a maid's outfit with all the stars and stripes and everything on it. Mm-hmm. And so her power was she had these shoes she would throw, and they would stick in the wall, through the heel. And so I was picturing that the entire time I was bringing this story up. So I guess when these girls get in a fight, they go hard. They're not messing around.
When it comes to pulling weaves out and stuff and things like that, yeah. And then the stiletto. That sounds like that Cardi B and Nicki Minaj thing that happened not too long ago. Maybe they just wanted to keep it going. This is going to be like a thing or something, or some kind of fight kind of thing going on. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. I love that. That's insane. It's not that they were fighting and then they started trying to slap each other or pull each other's hair. It's that they actually ripped one of them got her weave ripped off, and the other one went after her with her stiletto heel shoe.
Let's see.
You could put an eye out. You can puncture somebody's brain with that thing.
But that weave pulling, that hurts. Because when you, that hurts. That means that did something to the scalp.
Oh, let me tell you. I understand that.
It's crazy. Stop it. You're too much. I felt for her. Forget about the stilettos. It's the weave pulling right there.
I just feel like there's so many of these types of stories that always end with the sentence, and somebody's weave got pulled out.
If they're not in prison, yes.
If they're not in prison, yeah. That's, God.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
Kentucky Fried Chicken in New Zealand gave its customers a chance of winning a candle which gives off the scent of fried chicken.
Oh my
One lucky person won a KFC scented candle through a drawing being run by KFC New Zealand.
It's finger licking good, so you know it's just fine. Let the Colonel people cook for you at lunchtime.
Okay, now there's 2 ways this could go with the candle, and I the way I see it, they're both bad. A, your house is always going to smell like fried chicken, which is already a bad enough smell that's really hard to get out without people thinking you haven't taken out your trash.
Exactly.
And 2, how pissed are people going to be when they come over to your house and they smell fried chicken and find out there is no Colonel in the house?
That's a good
and it's all just lies. So there's no way you're getting out of this. This is not going to work.
I wouldn't even want to light the candle. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't either.
Why would you? Who wants a candle that smells like fried chicken?
Now, to be fair, in all disclosure, we do have a candle in our house that smells like Fruit Loops. So we do have some food-scented items going on there. But chicken versus Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops can carry on a wide variety of smells. When I smell Fruit Loops, I think of Fruity Pebbles, and I think of beautiful things. But fried chicken, yeah.
It's like, did y'all overcook the chicken or something? Where is the chicken?
Well, in our house, it's an open plan, so our stove doesn't have a hood over it.
Okay.
So we always have to maybe open the doors, and there's a window in the kitchen, so we let a little breeze blow through if we want to get food smells out of the house.
Right.
But some things you just cannot get out of your house for a couple of days, like whenever we make bacon or anything with garlic, it just lingers.
It does.
So it's bad. We wake up in the morning, 6 a.m. where we're stumbling out. We're like, oh God, it smells like ham out here. It still smells like food. It's awful. It's nauseating. So yeah, if you got your Colonel.
Did you hear about the
candle.
baby that they named their child after the Colonel, and they get some kind of I don't remember the amount of money, but it is a large amount of money if you name your child Colonel Sanders.
Oh God.
Yeah. And
now,
they did.
Now that's what I was going to ask you, if they were actually having to name the chicken, if they're having to name the children Colonel Sanders, or if they could actually just call him Harlan, because I think that's what the guy's first name was.
Colonel, first name Colonel, middle name Sanders.
In some countries, I think like Sweden at least, there are laws against naming your children certain things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's some countries where it's actually illegal to name your child something stupid, and I assume naming your child Colonel Sanders would be one of those things.
Yeah, I was just thinking of one child not too long ago.
Sorry.
His name was Jen, and I just had to ask Mom, like, how did you get such a unique name as Jen? And she goes, "Oh, that's just my favorite sipping beverage."
I worked with a girl who named her child Tanqueray.
No.
I kid you not.
No.
I couldn't believe it.
I would change my name once I learned about what Tanqueray is.
Yeah.
I was like, no,
that's not even a top shelf gin. It's like naming your kid Seagrams. There's no happiness coming out of this for anybody.
Not unless you're Tennessee or Jim or Jim. Was it Jim Bourbon or what's the name of it?
Jim Beam, yeah.
Jim Beam, yeah. They gonna show you how much I drink.
So this candle consisted of the Colonel's coveted recipe that had it. Actually, they had the 11 herbs and spices in the candle. So if anybody's wanting to reverse engineer the chicken, just go get that candle. They also, in case you were unlucky enough to not get one of these candles, the sting could be taken out since they held a separate drawing to win a KFC branded red beanie. So,
really,
yeah, that helps. Makes the bad feels go away.
So sad.
A man who was under house arrest was found to be involved in a burglary after his ankle monitor showed his location. John Davis of New Orleans almost got away with the perfect crime, except he was wearing a GPS-tracked ankle monitor, which sent his location to the police. A Louisiana home was robbed back in January, in which jewelry, electronics, and firearms were stolen. Police were unable to find the intruder until they received a tip-off that John Davis was involved. So somebody narked on him, first of all. The police checked Davis's ankle monitor and discovered that around 1 o'clock p.m. on the day of the robbery, he had arrived at the address where the burglary took place, and his ankle monitor pinged 9 times around the residence.
My goodness.
7 times inside, 2 times outside. At 1:16 p.m., he left the residence and returned to his house, and the police have since arrested him and recovered some of the stolen goods from the property. So, yeah.
That is... Did he I guess he just he says, hey, I want to just go back to jail, y'all.
Well, I have another story in this list somewhere, and I think it's actually quite a ways in, so we'll probably get to it Thursday. But I just have a feeling that these people don't understand what ankle monitors are.
I don't know. I beg to differ on that one. I think he just said, hey, I just want to go back to jail.
I got nothing on
me.
that. Ping me.
I pinged you between two towers and you was over here.
Yeah, but I mean,
house.
he's already going to get in trouble for leaving his house. So why compound it by doing a robbery if he's just wanting attention?
He didn't want to slap on the wrist from his probation officer, from his PO. So he said, "No, we're gonna go big or not at all." That's exactly what he said.
So you're thinking he was just going straight to jail, not pass and go? Did not want to
the
deal with
pass
all
and go
that.
would have came if he would have went out the house. And then going and say, "Oh, I'm gonna rob the house. I'm gonna take some stuff." You going to jail? There's no slap on the wrist like,
no,
you're okay. No. I'm just saying.
I don't know what goes through somebody's head when something like that happens.
That's the only thing I can think of. No logic.
No, there is no logic here. None that I can fathom anyway. Oh, this is a good one. A woman was arrested after she got into a fight with a man, zapped him several times with a stun gun on his genitals, and attacked a police officer.
Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
Around 2:15 a.m., which I think we've discussed before, nothing good ever happens after midnight on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
The Thibodaux Police Department were called to Quality Inn and Suites to handle a disturbance at the motel. So
Quality Inn Suites.
We're already,
I know. Visuals.
So now we're 2 for 2. It's after midnight and we're at a motel, at a Quality Inn motel. The police arrived and spotted Nadira Tardif arguing with a man in the parking lot. When the police attempted to separate and arrest the two, Nadira lashed out at one of the officers and sank her nails into his arm, severely scratching him. The police questioned the man, and he stated that the two had had an argument in the motel, and when they began to fight, Nadira used a pink stun gun on the man, zapping him several times, including on his junk.
Ooh.
I like the touch that it was pink. That personalizes it. That's a girl who knows what she wants. Any old stun gun was not going to be good enough for her, not one of those gunmetal gray ones. She wanted a pink one.
You go, girl. Another one that went big or not at all.
Well, let's say he probably got zapped, so I don't think he was going big anymore. Let me tell you that.
Not for a while, at least.
Maybe a little puffy, but a little bruising, but nothing.
I don't think he'll want to stand next to a microwave anytime soon.
No,
Get like a little zap.
Start having flashbacks every time there's dry season. He's walking across the carpet.
Right.
Oh God! Is she back?
We're bad. We know.
I'm so naughty.
But nice.
Oh, shame on me.
Stop it.
Oh, I love this story so much. I was laughing to myself so hard.
Okay, I gotta brace myself.
John Nugent was finally arrested after several weeks of disturbing residents of El Segundo, California by blasting an air horn from his car at night. Nugent had been accused of blaring his air horn, which was described by police as sounding similar to a train horn, throughout the middle of the night for weeks. Police received numerous reports of a white male driving a blue four-door compact vehicle blaring an extremely loud air horn and disturbing the neighborhood. Police Lieutenant Ray Garcia explained that the noise would occur, police would arrive, and by that time that he'd already escaped the scene. So this little thing was happening over and over and over again. Police finally heard the air horn themselves and quickly set up a traffic stop at a nearby intersection, where they stopped a blue 2006 Chevy Aveo being driven by Nugent. The police searched his car and discovered an air horn equipment inside the vehicle.
Wow.
To the police's surprise, several nearby residents who were alleged victims of the air horning responded to the scene and initiated a citizen's arrest.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
They'd had it. They were mobbing him. Police Lieutenant Ray Garcia said, "He's been doing this for weeks, and we've been chasing him for weeks, but we finally got him." So it was just Army of the Undead, I think, coming after him that night.
I bet he was like, oh. It was like Dawn of the Dead when you have all those zombies rushing towards you.
It was a Romero film all over the street. People just...
But they're happy. They can sleep now.
Well, but you got to think, though, it's one thing when you have a disturbing neighbor, because we've got a woman next door who just lets her dog bark, 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 bark.
Mm-hmm.
And I've mentioned it, in passing before. And she's, oh, well, we can't leave him inside. We can't, bark, bark, bark. It's annoying, and you kind of get over it after a while.
Right. But
somebody blasting a horn in your neighborhood at night, waking you up, that is not something you can recover from easily.
And see, let it happen. I'm just saying, we would have found him the first day, because I'd be setting up traps, because you're disturbing me. We're going to do a citizen's arrest.
Well, and you would think after the second time it happened, somebody would turn their little outside camera to the street.
Right.
And, I mean, they recognized the car, but I guess they couldn't get the license plate or recognize who it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just love that. They turned on him. They just came after him. I don't even know if he was a resident of that neighborhood or if he had just simply picked that street to terrorize.
And that's what I was going to ask. I wonder if he lived there, but for him to get in a vehicle. But see, they could do that to throw things off, or I don't know.
Well, it's just so strange that if he lived there, maybe he hates his neighbors. But it's even weirder if he doesn't live there, that he just simply picked this one random neighborhood to annoy for weeks on end.
He's cray-cray.
He's crazy, but it seems like he's got a method to his cray.
Okay.
He's got a method to
We're
his
going to
cray.
see how much of that cray-cray go on when he behind them bars. He ain't going to be air horning no more.
Well, but he's not going to jail for that. That's just like a misdemeanor, nuisance charge.
Oh, I know you probably wouldn't get arrested, but at least one night. You'll be doing at least one night while we book these charges and then let you go on this misdemeanor.
Well, if the judge that he sits in front of is one of those, I love let the punishment fit the crime judges, just puts him in the house and just says, okay, well, we're going to sit here and play this randomly in your house. That's just going to blast your stereo randomly for a few weeks, just to annoy the crap out of you. I like that.
Wow, you're Judge Jerry. He has a show coming on, right? Jerry Springer.
Oh, dear God, no.
Next year, he'll be called the Honorable Judge Jerry Springer.
That's a contradiction in terms.
And he's going to be delivering. I'm sorry. When you just talk judges, my mind went off on a tangent. And they say fall 2019, Jerry Springer will be Judge Springer.
Oh, dear God.
Yes.
Well, Dr. Laura's show didn't last long, so maybe his show won't last long either.
Right?
That itself was a train wreck. Because nobody wanted to see that skeletal woman sitting there, talking mean to him. All her color. Anyway, going off on a tear here, ripping Dr. Laura, who doesn't even matter anymore because I don't think she does anything.
Right.
An Australian woman unhappy with the price hike of weed called up Northern Territory police and complained about her drug dealer.
Because this is the price. It's the price. Always the price up.
The emergency dispatcher received the unusual call from the woman who told them of the outrageous price increase of the illegal narcotic by her weed dealer. Illegal in, Australia at the time. The police tried to request further details from the woman, but she became fearful of being entrapped.
Oh, my goodness.
So she hung up the phone. The police found the phone call hilarious, so they advertised on their Facebook page that if people knew of a drug dealer who was ripping the public off, they should call the police right away.
She had to be on something else.
Well, again, I find it so funny that how closely some of these stories align, because we just had that guy. I don't know if you were here that week who thought he had bought meth, but he thought he'd bought meth, but he was convinced that the guy had sold him something else. Mm-hmm. So he called the police demanding that they test it for him. So they're like, "Sure, come on down." They tested
I remember
it.
that.
Okay.
Yes.
So apparently these people just are buying drugs and they don't know where else to turn. And this woman hadn't even had a bad batch or something. He hadn't slipped her a baggie full of oregano. She was just upset that her dealer was charging her more.
She was like, "I have my rights." You have the right to the right price for weed.
At the very least, she shouldn't be calling the cops. She should call the FTC or something. Unfair trade practices.
Poor lady.
Maybe he's the only dealer on the block, and she's like, "You got a monopoly here," and now she's all ticked off that he's taking advantage of people.
Ooh. No smoke screen here. I couldn't help it. I couldn't. It was just there. I said I just had to let it out. So
squeeze your stress balls. Squeeze.
I couldn't help it. Sorry.
Here's our first Florida story of the day.
Oh, goodness.
A Florida man wearing a SpongeBob outfit broke into the home of a sleeping woman to stand over her while she slept. Stephen Kirkland broke into the home while wearing a SpongeBob SquarePants outfit and proceeded to stand over her and watch her as she slept. At approximately 7:15 a.m., the sleeping woman awoke and spotted him in her house. He ran from the home when he noticed she noticing him. Then she called the police. Officers spotted Stephen near the area outside another home, peeking through a window, watching a woman get dressed. So he wasn't even the least bit phased. Oh, you're awake. Okay, fun's over. I'm done now. And so he left. And so he ran down the street to somebody else's house and just stuck his face against the window.
Why do you have to do that to SpongeBob, though?
Yeah, why
the Sponge?
But I mean, okay, it's there's so many layers to this. It's weird enough that he's sneaking into somebody's house to watch them sleep.
Yes.
It's weirder that he's dressing as SpongeBob to do it. It's yet weirder still that he goes to somebody else's house and plasters his face against the window, assuming that they're not going to see a SpongeBob costume.
Big old sponge.
A bright neon yellow sponge pressed up against the window.
He was not thinking on that one.
I think there was a little something wrong with that one. Police chased after him. He ran and hid in a trash can.
Oh, my goodness. You just added a whole nother layer.
Oh, it's like a lasagna.
This is crazy.
This is a dip. Officers pulled him out and arrested him, and it was discovered that after his arrest, he was also wanted on 2 counts of lewd and lascivious molestation of a child under the age of 12.
Oh, no.
He was arrested and charged with burglary, loitering, prowling, and trespassing. So this guy was a champ.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that explains the SpongeBob aspect, I guess.
No, I just... that's cray. No, he cray.
There's so much Craig going on there.
Cray.
There's a lot of Craig going on there. A New York bank executive tried to hide his mugshot from appearing in the local newspaper by buying up all the copies.
No bad news.
Sing it, girl. Bank Vice President Joseph Talbot of Newark, New Jersey was arrested in New York when he was found driving while intoxicated. He arrived at the police station and refused to have his fingerprints taken, his breath tested, or mugshot taken. He was charged with a DUI and misdemeanor obstruction of governmental administration in the 2nd degree. Now here's where the fun comes in. Mm-hmm. The Times of Wayne County, newspaper there, picked up the mugshot. I guess they ended up somehow getting a mugshot out of him, and ran the story the following Saturday. The story blew up after several people notified the paper that Joseph bought nearly 1,000 newsstand copies at $1.25 each. Yeah, that'll work because it's 1946 and nobody has any other way of getting information out. He managed to snatch up all the newspapers in the Newark area, but by doing so, bigger newspapers picked up the story and published his antics, making it a national story.
I wonder where he did. Oh, that's so messed up. The evil. Oh my gosh. His plan backfired on him.
I just kind of picture this Mr. Monopoly guy with big eyebrows running from newspaper stand to newspaper stand, throwing him into his trunk, feverish, and oh, I gotta get these. And then,
still got found out.
Well, yeah, because he was driving around from newsstand to newsstand buying 1,000 copies, and people were like, "What's that about?"
And this was in 1946?
No. This was just recently.
Oh my goodness.
I was saying it was 1946 because he's thinking stealing all the newspapers is apparently the way to keep any information from getting out.
And then, like, there's no internet. Like, really?
Exactly.
What are you going to do? Buy the websites?
There's not an evening edition. There's not local news.
Right.
There's not.
He wasn't thinking.
There's not people Facebooking, Twittering.
He was tweeting and Facebooking.
I have another word
Instas.
for tweeting, but I can't say it on the air here.
Is it twerk?
No, and we're not gonna sound it out because once you get to, it'll be like, oh, I can't say that.
Okay, well, we'll talk off there.
Yeah, tweet. Oh, this is sad. Another Florida story.
Oh goodness, Florida just can't stop.
I specifically do not look up any information. I just do a search for weird news, and as they come, I review them.
Wow.
I don't even really realize it's Florida until I've already pasted the story into my list. Tavares Jones ordered a meal from the drive-thru at a Steak and Shake in Florida. When he picked it up, he complained to the employee that his fries were cold. He demanded new fries and ketchup from the female worker, then threw the cold fries in her face, got out of the car, and demanded a fight with her. Jones then pulled open the sliding window and punched the employee in the arm. St. Johns County Sheriff's Office reported he claimed the worker was racially offensive toward him, stating, "Because that expletive gave me some cold fries, and when I told her I wanted some more fries and ketchup, she called me an N-word and slammed the sliding door in my face. So I got out of my car, pulled the window open, and threw that expletive she threw at me back at her." The worker suffered bruising on her arm but did not suffer any serious injuries. What is with fast food making people so angry?
It's the food.
It has to be the food.
It's something in the food, I'm telling you. And Steak and Shake, their stuff is pretty good. When I used to eat, red meat, but it's the fries. Oh, and their fries are. It's just like McDonald's. They don't taste like McDonald's fries, but they have that psychological factor. Like everybody loves McDonald's French fries.
I don't know what it is. We were talking about that, I think, just last week, the week before, with that McDonald's just apparently it's not good for you because it makes people just go bat crazy.
And that they got the same ingredient as Steak and Shake. And how did he think he was going to win that one? I mean, why are you fighting fire with fire? Like, really? If they called you the N-word, it doesn't help for you to get out your car and start to be aggressive, and then when the police arrive, you think that that's going to exonerate you from.
Well, and that's likely too that a fast food employee just started calling somebody the N-word.
Yeah.
Who does that? I mean, that's instant firing. There's no
gray.
There's no meetings. There's no sitting down. You're out.
That's why I was just like, why fire? If they said it, then you talk to the manager and move on out.
And they will give you fries for a lifetime.
Right.
So, yeah, that guy just lost his mind. When Rosie Snyder's delivery of meth was wrongly delivered to a different address, she decided to pick it up from the police station instead.
Oh, goodness, your music.
A man who, and I'm not even kidding because I can't make this up, a man who lives on Crystal Street was mistakenly the recipient of a 5-pound package of meth.
Oh, goodness.
He called the police, informing them of his predicament with the 4 pounds of meth on his hands. The police picked up the package and took it to the station for further investigation, and the police then pinpointed the main suspect of the package, Rosie, so they called her to come pick up her 3 pounds of meth, and she actually showed up at the station to recover her box of meth. She was arrested and charged with drug trafficking, possession, and drug paraphernalia. So.
Enough said.
It really is just a very pure story. There's not a whole lot of analysis there. I mean, a little tight ending. It just wraps itself up so nicely.
Oh, homegirls. I'm sorry. Like you. I mean, you didn't even get a clue when you pulled up to the parking lot that you're going inside of a police station, knowing that there's illegal items, drugs.
Well, now that's actually an interesting point. I don't know if the cops identified themselves to her or if they just said, "Hey, we got your meth, come get it." But yeah, if you walk in, you got to drive past a couple of gates. There's a logo once or twice, the coat of arms, the shield or whatever. It's gonna say police over the door, and you're probably going to see 1 or 2 officers standing around, I'm thinking.
Or maybe a car, too.
So, yeah, she just had to have that delicious, tasty meth.
Oh, girl.
A man who has had his nose and ears removed and had his face tattooed to look like a skull has revealed he wants to have his genitals removed next.
Pretty, oh so pretty. I feel pretty and witty and gay.
Eric Ramirez from Colombia began transforming his body after the death of his mother when he was 12 years old.
Oh my goodness.
He began by having his mother's face inked onto his back and says he began wanting to resemble a living skull. Ramirez had his tattoo artist friend remove the tip of his nose and ears so he would resemble a skull, and he said, "We are all the same. No matter if you're a boy, a girl, a man, or an elderly man, we are always the same. A skeleton." He told a reporter from Los Informantes that his fantasy is to remove his genitals so he can become, quote, totally flat like a skeleton. It's not flat.
Goodness.
There's like all sorts of holes and bones. And anyway, speaking about his mother's death, he said he wanted to look like a skull since he found out she had died, and his desire to look like a skull has now developed into wanting to resemble a skeleton. He also revealed he has suicidal tendencies and claims he feels at home in cemeteries. He says, "I would like to be buried 2 meters underground. I feel like being beside dead people. I like it here where there's peace, harmony, and there's not so much pain. So there's no childhood trauma here.
No.
There's no ongoing crippling psychological problems. I'm just amazed, though, that this is the third story this semester about people cosmetically removing parts of their bodies.
See, that they put the C in cray cray.
That's a capital C.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things, I had this other sheet here because I wanted to show you. So he's all tatted up. If you look on the pec over here, he's got Pope John Paul II tattooed on his chest, but it looks like a really angry Jeff Sessions.
Yes. Oh my goodness. He's oh my goodness, if you can only see this picture.
If anybody suffered through Suicide Squad, just kind of picture that and then take the nose off. The El Diablo guy.
That oh my.
My,
that is creepy.
And the funny thing is too is he desires to look like a skeleton, but there's more pictures of him where he's standing there kind of shirtless. He's a little pudgy.
Yeah.
He's a chubby little skeleton.
Well, Columbia, they eat good.
I mean, do you want this? I want
to show this to Ray.
Yeah, take that back to Ray.
And say, look,
like that.
This is what I want to look like in about 10 years. No, I don't.
Give that to your kids. Give them some ideas.
No, goodness no. Oh my gosh, now that would put me through some
trauma.
That'd
be a conversation started next Thanksgiving.
Or a conversation for the night.
No.
No tattoos, no nothing. No spikes, no nothing.
A blind man was punched by his relative after he called the man by his real name, Bernard.
I like that boom, boom, pow. Them chickens jogging my style. They try to copy my swagger. I'm on that next now.
Bernard Muscadin allegedly struck his blind relative after the man complained of Bernard's drinking and smoking and called him by his given name. Ooh. And the sad thing is it doesn't say what he preferred to be called by. I couldn't find that anywhere. Bernie. B. The police arrived at the scene and spotted the blind relative lying on the driveway with a swollen face. The man said Bernard responded by saying, "Don't call me Bernard," and then pushed his relative. Bernard stated the blind man hit him in the forehead, so as a response, he decided it was best to punch the man multiple times in the face.
How do you do that?
Because if you can't defend yourself from a blind man.
That's what I'm sitting there like, really?
Bernard was arrested and faces charges of battery and abuse of a disabled person and spent the night in jail before being released and has been ordered to not have any more violent contact with his blind relative. It seems like that shouldn't be something you have to give somebody an order to do.
These days, I just don't know, Lunchbox.
Can you imagine that's officially on his record now. The judge said, don't hit your relative anymore. That's like, don't slap your sister.
I wonder if it's happened before, though, for the judge to order it.
Oh, that's a good point. A little repeat behavior. The judge was like, okay, it seemed obvious the first time. I'm going to have to spell it out for you now.
Yep.
Don't hit. Stop hitting your sister. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. The roles that judges have to take on is...
Now, okay, this is not at all the same. I'm completely acknowledging that up front. But I do a little bit of administration for a couple of websites in my spare time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all just community stuff. So I basically ride the help desk. So people send in tickets that I'm having a technical issue or, which is rare. Primarily, it's a whole lot of kind of the digital, he's looking at me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He won't stop looking at me.
Okay.
And other people saying, "Oh, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you." Kind of. So it's a whole lot of 30-year-old kindergartners who just can't figure out how to behave around each other.
Oh, wow.
So in that small microcosm, I can sort of see the larger thing that these judges have to deal with when these people come in, and the judge just slowly sets the gavel down on his table, just kind of leans forward and puts his face in his hands. There's a moment of silence in the courtroom while he's rubbing his temples. Mm-hmm. And then he picks up his gavel again and gavel, gavel, gavel. And then he just says, "Don't do that anymore."
And then they stop.
Well, they don't stop. But the point is that the judge has to sit there and waste his own time to tell them to stop doing things that should be common sense for anybody.
Right.
So it's just
That's crazy.
Stupid. Authorities say a man who was burying a pet in the backyard of the home he rents in Modesto discovered human remains.
Oh, my goodness.
Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department says the man found the remains Sunday and called the authorities. Department spokesman Sergeant Tom Letras said tells the Modesto Bee that deputies worked throughout the evening to exhume the decomposing body. He says detectives have not identified the victim, who appears to be an adult, and he says an autopsy will be conducted to determine the cause and manner of death. Now, this is where it gets weird. This guy's been renting this house. The police say that based upon composition, the body has likely been there for months, not years.
Oh, wow.
The guy has been renting the home since November of 2017 and tells the newspaper he knows nothing about the remains. So I have several questions.
Uh-oh.
So let's assume that he was the one who buried the body.
Okay.
Why would he call the police to report it? And so that doesn't make any sense to me, unless he somehow thought he was going to be caught and was trying to change the narrative a little bit.
Right.
But let's assume that some random person chose this backyard to bury a body in. And I was going to say, oh, maybe it's Chandra Levy. They finally found her, but that's...
Stop it.
They said it's only been there for a couple of months. Well, it's Modesto. Gary Condit was up there.
Yeah.
Porking his intern and then doing whatever, he chopped her up or whatever it was. But let's assume that some random person picked this backyard to bury the body. What kind of dull slug do you have to be to not notice a suddenly turned portion of your backyard, the earth torn up?
That's a good point.
Or to later even not notice that the grass is growing unusually well in this one particular area?
That's a good question.
Some of these stories leave me with so many more questions than answers. I don't know.
And it's not like his backyard is would be open if they put it in his backyard, not unless he had a backyard without a fence.
I don't know. I do wish it did actually specify the size of the backyard,
right?
But it's just
odd. Weird.
It's just so strange. Yeah. No, that's the other one. Backyard remains. So yeah. I don't know. It's just so strange. But how weird is it too that even if it was a small yard that he would pick the same spot to bury his pet in?
Right.
It's just I have so many questions about this.
That's why it makes him look a little guilty, though.
It is definitely
just the error. What do they call that? Not coincidental.
Circumstantial evidence.
Yes.
It's possible. I don't have any idea whether he had anything to do with it or not, but it certainly is suspicious.
Right.
It's going to set the neighbors to talking, I'll tell you that.
Let's give them something to talk about.
I think they've got a lot to talk about. Oh, man. So I think with that, we are actually about to get out of here because I know, Threadz, you got your show coming up here. What's going on at 10 o'clock?
Yes. I'm looking forward to it.
And that's not a question. That's a noun.
No. You're in the no.
I would be more than happy to join you and waste your time.
No.
Oh, yeah. No, that's what I do. Just all kinds of time wasting. I've wasted an hour of yours right now.
No, you have not. It's been, it's always a pleasure. You make my morning when I've had one of those mornings where everything is not going right, and I come here, I get on the show, and then it all puts everything together.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
It's the truth.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, everybody, here. This has been Breakfast of Imbeciles every Tuesday and Thursday from 9 to 10 a.m. here on Griffin Radio. And don't forget to check us out on our Facebook page at Griffin Radio 119. Instagram is Griffin Radio SD. And, of course, you can always hear us on the TuneIn app for your Android and iPhone on the Griffin Radio channel. Shoot me an email at lunchboxthedj@gmail.com. And don't forget to do a search for Breakfast of Imbeciles on YouTube and check out any episodes you may have missed in the past, because I've put them there. Thank you so much, guys. We will see you on Thursday.